In the Army, though, I did some medical photography and some other stuff, but mostly things that I did on my own. Just went around shooting pretty pictures and things. Oh, this is nice.
Terry Slezak has been a shutterbug for his entire adult life. He's gone from darkroom to digital, and these days it's pretty easy to snap pictures of the wildlife around his hill country home. But he remembers how much harder things were 60 years ago, when the photos he printed were out of this world.
I was the first photographer hired in what was to become the photo division at NASA. When John Glenn went up, he shot a whole lot of pictures of the Earth's limb, the color bands around the Earth, and we printed what we call a ring around, and he came and picked out a set of these, which is as close as what he could remember that they looked like.
Because before John Glenn orbited the Earth, nobody knew what those colors were.
No.
As NASA launched astronauts to places no one had ever been, they brought back priceless images no one had ever seen. Mercury, Gemini, the Space Shuttle, Shepard, Glenn, Lovell. Think of nearly any NASA achievement from the first several decades of spaceflight. If you can picture it, chances are Terry helped in some way to make that picture.
Is this where you have all of your pictures?
Oh, look at this.
No, this isn't all of them. This is only a very small part.
Here's Columbia.
This is the first untethered man. This is Bruce McCandless. I talked to Bruce afterwards. I said, weren't you a little frightened out there, you know, when you got so far away from the shuttle? And he says, I was just hoping this damn thing works.
What's this one?
That is Buzz Aldrin on the moon, and that is Neil Armstrong on the moon.
That's the picture of Neil Armstrong on the moon.
The picture, yeah.
Does it feel like 50 years?
No.
Does it feel like yesterday?
Not too long ago, you know, really. But it doesn't seem like 50 years. My goodness.
By the time the Apollo program was underway, Terry was used to handling historic images in the photo department. But then the NASA brass threw him a curveball. See, starting with the first moon landing, all film had to be sterilized before it could come out of quarantine, and they only trusted one person in the universe to do it.
By virtue of that, I became the guy who went into quarantine.
You were in quarantine with the astronauts?
Yeah.
After they came back?
Yeah, I was in quarantine for Apollo 11, 12, 13, and 14.
For each mission, Terry spent a month sealed up with the astronauts in the Lunar Receiving Lab. He was one of the first people to spend time with Michael Collins, Neil Armstrong, and Buzz Aldrin after we put a man on the moon. But humble photographer Terry Slezak has his own world's first moment from Apollo 11. He was unloading the film when it happened.
I got magazine S out. The first thing I thought about, there's all this dust all over it. The first thing I thought about, if this stuff has gotten in this magazine, it has scratched the film something terrible, you know. And that was my thought. But then everybody says, well, what is that? I said, it's moon dust. It's the only place it's been, you know. They said, oh, well, you're the first one to touch the moon dust.
With your bare hands?
Yeah. And so anyway, they said, well, hold up your hand. So I hold up my hand, and I have a picture of it there somewhere, and I got all this little black dust on it.
Well, Terry's historic encounter with the remnants of the moon may have been an accident, but his years of dedication certainly were not. He worked tirelessly behind the scenes alongside so many others for one reason: to inspire us all to greater heights. What do you think is the importance of all these pictures to the rest of the world? What do they do for us?
Well, I think that it shows that we're not bound to the earth for the rest of our days. The offshoot of the space program, though, has brought a whole lot of new discoveries in many, many fields.
Do you ever on a clear night ever go out and just look up at the moon and think, I've touched your dust. I've had you on my hands.
No, it's like Neil Armstrong told me, one time he says, whenever you go out and look at the moon, just wink at it and say, we've been there.